Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Views and News, and I'm Faisal Rehman live from our Islamabad studios. Today, we'll be talking about this very interesting issue of India to grant citizenship to minorities. Whether you talk about Sikhs, you talk about Christians, you talk about Buddhists, you talk about Hindus, you talk about people from any religion but Muslims. And they will be granting this citizenship to primarily the neighboring countries. That includes Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Now, interestingly, all these three countries are Muslim countries, and Pakistan has said that this is again something against the human rights. Why haven't they included the Muslims? As we all know, the Muslims not only in Kashmir now, whether you talk about Assam, Bihar or that area of Bengal, that has actually become a huge problem for the Indian government. The kind of measurements they have taken against the Muslims, the kind of attitude they have adopted over a period of time, that is something which we have never heard of before. We always used to think, and even a lot of people used to even believe, that India is a very secular state, which it isn't. Especially when we look at the current narratives, if you look at the current decisions taken by the courts, for example, regarding Barbary Mosque, that is something which is not at all justified. Just under the pressure of the current government and on the basis of religion, they have given the verdict in the favor of the Hindus, despite whatever the history of that place is. Now moving on, you talk about Narendra Modi. The man is as clean as a white cloth. That's what I mean. People say, no more. This man who was not allowed the visa of United States of America when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. He was denied this visa because he was known as, called as the Butcher of Gujarat, in which he was involved in the killing of more than 2,000 Muslims. They were massacred out there. This man was the person behind the entire massacre. Nobody blames him now since he's become the Prime Minister. Immunity. Now he's looked upon as one of the greatest leaders of India. And look at the kind of extremism that has developed over a period of time, and especially in the recent past since he has taken charge. Hindutva, you talk about RSS, you talk about Kashmir, you talk about the minorities, whether they are Dalits or Christians or any other minority, even Sikhs. Look what's happening out there. And this is the beginning of the actual issues of India. Now, the fault lines, they've been exposed, but if they're not realizing it, they'll start blaming Pakistan at some stage again for it. Whatever the wrongdoings are being committed by the Indian government, they will blame Pakistan for it. Remember that. Not realizing whatever they are doing at the moment is going to have a much larger fallout factor at some stage. But anyway, since it is something very important, and Pakistan is the neighbor, and we always talk about the human rights in the region and overall as well. We have with us in our studio, on my right is Dr. Nazir Mahmood Saab. He's a senior columnist and writer. Thank you very much, sir. And we have with us Air Vice Marshal retired Faisal Saab, who's a senior analyst and is also the VC of Air University Islamabad. Sir, thank you very much. And we'll shortly be joined in by Dr. Zafar Nawaz Jaspal Saab, who is an IR expert, in a little while. But starting off from you, sir, Nazir Saab, now India is there to grant citizenship to all the minorities other than the Muslims. You talk about even the little minorities like Parsis for that matter. They say that they will be looking after those and will be granting them the citizenship, all those who are from Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh. Now primarily no Muslims. Muslims are a minority in their own country, but yet, let me be the devil's advocate here, that if they are granting to all the other religions but the Muslims, means that they are actually addressing the Muslim states, that you are Muslim countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan or Bangladesh, you can look after the Muslims, but when it comes to the minorities, don't you think they're right in a way, sir?
Well, I think it's a very calculated move, and it has a direct connection with the situation in their northeast, because essentially, you know, we need to see the background how it all started. It started from Assam.
Yeah.
Assam, you know, what was the situation? The situation was that Assam has almost 1/3 population of Assam. The total population of Assam is around 33 million. Out of that, 1/3 is migrated from, they say, erstwhile East Pakistan or Bangladesh, both Hindus and Muslims. Now, what was the problem? The problem was that when these people settled there, they did not have documents there. And the BJP government wanted to expel essentially Muslims from Assam. Now, when they started this citizenship registration process, which started around 5 years back and it consumed around 20 billion Indian rupees, they spent registering citizens of Assam. Now, what they were expecting that there would be more Muslims, so they would register without documents and they would say, now you can't prove your citizenship, so you are no more Indian citizen. Now, that's how it started. But when they started the process, they found that there were more Hindus without the documents. That's where the problem started. Now, if Hindus don't have the documents, ideally, according to them, they should expel with Muslims, Hindus also. So they wanted, the BJP government wanted to provide a cover to those Hindus who did not have documents and who had migrated from erstwhile East Pakistan and then from Bangladesh. Now, to cover that, they have introduced this bill. What is the purpose of this bill? Now, they have included, now this is, I think, all eyewash, including Christians and...
Are you telling us this is about the demographic changes in Assam also?
Essentially it is to protect them. Now, that's what I am explaining. Don't get carried away by 6 religions and not including Muslims.
But primarily they're addressing the Hindus at the moment, yeah?
Primarily, you know, behind this, the purpose is to give citizenship to those Hindus who are in Assam, and there are over 2 million Muslim Hindus without citizenship documents. Now, how do you do that? If they don't have, because they started the process to expel Muslims, that those Muslims who don't have document, they should go back or they should live in camps. But after the process completed of registration, there are more Hindus without documents. Now, to cover that, they have introduced this bill, Citizenship Amendment Bill. Now, very intelligently crafted. They included Christians.
And the way it has been approved, 311 versus 80 in the Lok Sabha.
Look at the numbers. They are talking about Christians, Jains, Zoroastrians, Sikhs. Now, do you know what is the percentage of non-Muslims in Afghanistan? Less than 1%. There are hardly a couple of thousands only Hindus or Sikhs left in Afghanistan. So, even if they grant to all of them, only a couple of thousand will come to India. But with using this Citizen Amendment Bill, what they will do, they will grant citizenships to only Hindus in Assam, and they will force Muslims, more than 1 million Muslims who are already living in camps in Assam, to either go back to Bangladesh or to live in camps. So, this is the background of all this thing, you know. So,
you believe it's a very calculated move?
It's a very
brilliantly orchestrated.
I mean, how many Zoroastrians? How many Zoroastrians will come? A couple of thousands. How many Jains are there?
Yeah,
a couple of thousands.
There are minorities, but there's something very interesting. Now you have explained it very wisely. Now, AVM Saab, primarily again, do you think it is one move in order to look after the affairs and the independence of the minorities around the countries surrounding India, primarily Bangladesh, Pakistan, though Afghanistan is not actually bordering India, but they have included that as well. Having said that now, sir, now on the other hand, primarily to expel all those Muslims who can become a problem at some stage for them in Assam or Bihar for that matters in that area. A lot of people believe this is an internal issue, internally handled, and with the majority of the people who supported it, why Pakistan is getting involved? We haven't heard much coming from Bangladesh for that matter, or even Afghanistan. Your take, sir?
No, I think the Bangladeshi foreign minister cancelled his trip to India just today.
Just today, yes.
Because there were so many riots in northeastern India. and they've been killing, police has been firing live bullets on the Muslims over there and on the writers over there. And the Bangladeshi foreign minister cancelled his trip in protest to what is happening in northeast of India, or maybe more so in Assam and Guwahati, which are bordering Bangladesh. So it is not, it is, you don't have to see the bill in its legal connotation only. There are wider implications of these bills, and you see it in line with the ideology that the BJP has been following for the last 40-50 years. BJP has been constantly changing the minds of its followers and the larger Hindu majority against Muslims in a manner that it looks like as if the India today is against its own history. It's against its own history, particularly the Muslim part of it. And they want to erase, eradicate, delete everything that Muslim did in that part of the country and that country. Now, if you look at it, last 3 major events that have happened were the 5th August, the Kashmir issue, 370 and 35A. Then you have the Babri Mosque decision coming from the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And then you have this particular Naturalization Act that the Indians have passed, or what you call
the decision regarding Modi also.
So all these things, all these 3 major events or major happenings are against one particular religious community over there. So what the India today has become is a communal, highly communalized society, and that is what proves probably the Qaeda-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah right in a manner that if BJP has differentiated between 2 nations only, these are Muslims and Hindus. The others are in very lesser numbers. So what they have done is they have, through this act of CAB, the Citizenship Amendment Act, actually the phase 1 was in Assam, where they last year registered everybody in the citizenship rolls, and 2.5 million Muslims were left out of those rolls.
Just on the basis of the religion?
The religion. Now, those Muslims have to produce documents even if they were born in India, and there have been cases where the parents have been enrolled in the citizenship rolls and their children have been left out, just to pressurize a community. Now,
but sir, what will be their future? For example, if they are told to leave and go where? That's my point, sir.
Actually,
do you think the government of Bangladesh is going to accept them, or some other country is going to accept them?
They would be put in camps.
Bangladesh
they would be harassed. They would be harassed. They would be put in camps. There will be a suppressed community for a very long time. Bangladesh or Myanmar are not going to take them back, whosoever has come from those countries. The larger implication is when the same bill requires every Indian to register once again, and that is going to start next year, March, that every Indian will be required to register again, and that registration process will be very smooth for all religious communities except the Muslims. Muslims will have to produce their papers once again. So that is where you come to suppress, or you come to harass, or you come to victimize a population of 200 million.
So it's a planned move.
So that's what I'm saying.
In order to achieve certain objectives, right?
So now what happens to those people who will probably not be able to register so fast, or will not be able to give their documents? Obviously, they'll be running around from pillar to post. Their economies will go down. The living standards of Muslims will go down. So today, what you see is a larger move in India. Though it may it sounds like their internal matter, and it is their internal matter. And I'm so satisfied that they're doing it themselves. And it is not new today. It is their. If you look at BJP and Modi today, he represents the majority of India. He represents a larger majority. So what he does is not only Modi's ideology, what it does is the larger Indian populace what they want, or what they support at least. So that is what you see the communalism coming up in India, and what they all have been pointing fingers at us and other countries. I think India will have to face the same problems at a very larger scale. Today you're seeing a world's second most populous country.
Yeah.
In a transformation from a secular country to a communal country, where there will be very distinct differentiations between the religious, with the populations on the religious basis.
Primarily, Dr. Saab, first of all, thank you very much, sir, for being a part of our show, sir. Dr. Saab, this socio-political change or this transition is taking place in India at the moment. Do you think they are actually handling the issues in an appropriate way so it suits them? Or do you think at some stage this is going to trigger a lot of other problems? It is going to give a jump start to those existing fault lines and the issues related to them.
I think that the process has been completed almost. If you see that from 83 onward, BJP started working on certain things, and especially after 2014 onward. In that process, what was the BJP agenda? It was very clear that to transform India into Hindustan. So it is now a Hindu state, a religious state. It's no more a secular pluralist state. World has to recognize it and adjust itself with this kind of a, you can say, state, where especially the neighbors of the India. This is first point. And second is, if you see that what was the vote ratio, 1 of 5 out of 25 supported this bill in the, you can say, Rajya Sabha, where you are expecting that people will have some kind of a better understanding than the popular vote in the Lok Sabha. And with this support, if they are talking about that bill, and everyone is aware, this bill has nothing to do with the other minorities, but Muslims will be marginalized or further marginalized. If you read their, you can say, speeches or their agendas, they very clearly in their own religious gatherings claimed, or BJP leadership or SSR leadership was saying, that they have to convert the Muslim into the Hinduism, because
and they have done that. They've been doing it
yeah,
still.
that is what is their. I think this some kind of movement, which was that coming back.
The
to
forced
the
conversions, basically.
Basically, they call it that coming back to the home or religion, something like that. That gives you the idea that they are working on it. With this kind of a systemic approach, what is going to happen when this bill will pass, has passed it, and with the though in Punjab or in, I think, Haryana, they refuse to implement it. But we have to wait and see, because it's a way of majoritarian leadership, majoritarian lawmaking. It's the same kind of a dictatorship which you find in the medieval time, that when the clergy was, what I was saying, the king was making a law and administration was executing. So India has been passing through that kind of a process, and BJP has a, what you call it, a popular support, and in that context, whatever they wish, as it was earlier pointed by fellow panelists, that
If I may say, Dr. Saab, so the platform which they want to build, I mean, the base has been set. As Lincoln once said, that government of the people, for the people, by the people, that's what the definition of democracy is. But I think over here it seems the government of the Hindus, by the Hindus, and only for the Hindus.
We should
Is
be,
that the approach, sir?
We have to make an analysis based on the objectivity plus not bias approach. Look, it was in their manifesto in 2014 and in 2019 elections about these bills. 370 article was in their manifesto since the beginning. Babri Mosque was part of their achievements since 92. So gradually, systematically, they continued. The other political parties, or like Congress, became older political parties, started losing, and as a result, a popular support, they start gaining, and they did it. Now, this is the first thing which we have to realize, and we have to live with this reality for a longer time. We should prepare for it. Why I'm saying that when they abrogated 370 article, we start here debating, not focusing on what is happening in the Kashmir, what is going to be developments. We start targeting Article 370, which we never accepted. Same is this bill. Look, it's a violation of 3-4
What
things.
difference will it make, sir, whether you accept it or not? I mean, at the end of the day, they have done what they wanted to do, and they have achieved
Look,
all the objectives.
No, we never accepted, I mean, Article 370 from the very beginning. Since 1950s, we were opposing it. That's why in our writings, we are saying Indian occupied Kashmir. They were saying different. Now here what I wanted to submit, my point is, if you just focus on this bill, it's a violation of United Nations Charter. It's a violation of India's own constitution, I think Article 14. It's a violation of India's, you can say, independence basis in 1947 or whatever their movement for a decolonization and their leadership, founding fathers. What they were talking about India as a pluralist society, as a secular society. Of course, our founding fathers were vigilant at that time and they talk about two-nation theory. So it was, according to that, it was violation of that. Then, fourth, it is also violation, India made number of the bilateral agreement, Pakistan and India had a bilateral agreements on the minorities. Now here is the question mark. We are saying that India is violating, India is doing this. Of course, as a stakeholder of the being an agreement with India for the protection of minority or religious minorities, there we can. Now the question is how this Bangladesh is going to respond, how the other neighbors of the India has to see it. And with this, I think it's a very shrewd political movement for the sake of BJP vote and for establishing on which they have already won the election. Now we have to wait and see how it is going to affect in the future. Look, with the 370, no, before that, from the Pulwama, he won the election, anti-Pakistan or these things. Then he has no, because he has no economic policy, his economy of India is going down. Then they started this drama of 370. That 370 drama settled, then we have seen the Babri Mosque settled. Today, review petitions have been also rejected of the Babri Mosque.
Yes.
So now they start this new. We have to wait and see that how Indian population is going to react. Reaction in Assam is very much there. There were 4 other states where they are announced the curfew. There is we have to wait and see that how, because there is an important thing. In India, there are state elections coming. One point.
I understand, sir.
The state elections are coming, certain state elections. BJP in the state elections are not able, or it is looking that in the state election maybe its performance would be different from, would not like to that of what they had in the general election. And this scene is also
so
that
even
the way
in the
they're
previous
working
state
for
elections, we saw some very different results, but that did not happen eventually, sir. You talk about so many states, Rajasthan for that matter, and so many others, 5-7 states I remember.
No, but these states which are in the northeast India, they are different.
They are different. They were always different, sir.
Yeah, no, but this time they wanted to change it by these kind of the bills.
Because center is primarily, it's controlled and held by people around UP, an area around that particular province. But now, one important point, sir. Now, if this particular issue is that huge, so that humongous, you're talking about 15% of the Muslim population of India. 15%, this is what the Muslim population of India is. Even, sir, let's suppose 10% of that, which is 1.5%, come out to protest. I'm just saying 1%. That is going to be the largest protest registered ever. Correct, sir? I'm talking about more than 2 crore people on the roads, 2 crore, maybe more than that. Just 10% of that number. Forget about the rest of the minorities, things would be very different. But sir, nobody, I've seen the footages, people are out. Is it because people are scared? They don't want to be in the limelight. They don't want to be seen being a part of the protest, so that maybe tomorrow something similar is going to happen to them and to their families, what we have earlier witnessed in Kashmir and so many other areas.
Exactly, I think you have hit the nail. I mean, that is the issue, and that's what BJP wanted. By doing all this, though they were doing it only in Assam and some other states in Northeast, but this was the message to the rest of India that the same thing that they are doing here, they will be repeating in the rest of India. So Indian Muslims are, of course, scared because of very aggressive stance of BJP. As other speakers also mentioned, that it has been in their manifesto right from the beginning. And the point that they were raising again and again, and this Amit Shah, Indian Interior Minister, also he also said this in Lok Sabha, that Pakistan declared itself a Muslim country way back. You know, we have a Muslim constitution. Pakistan is not a secular by constitution. India is. So the point they are raising is that if Pakistan could declare itself a Muslim country, why can't we declare India as a Hindu country? Because India was divided on the basis of religion. That's what Amit Shah said.
Is that wrong?
No, they have their own point, and the point is very strong. And this point appeals to the people, mostly Hindus, because when you talk in those terms, this is sectarian or religious language that they are using. And when they use it, most of the Hindus started supporting them, and Muslims were on the back foot. So right now also what they are doing, they are using the same argument, and they are forcing Muslims to either back out, or so that Muslims become so scared they don't come out. Kashmir, you pointed out, it was such a big issue, but we didn't see any major protest in India for Kashmir. In fact, there were some Muslim leaders who said, okay, whatever Modi did
Because
was right.
maybe there was an absolute shutdown on media and other communication channels. Primarily, they just showed what they wanted to show, sir.
Yes.
That's what the world has seen.
But I mean, this is true, as you mentioned, that there were no
That's
a
how
million
media
or 2
works.
million people didn't come out on the
Change
street.
the perception of the people.
There were some people who were protesting, but you know, a million or 2 million Muslims did not come out on the street, as you just rightly pointed out. So that element of scare is there, and this populist politics that this is essentially populist politics. So what the point that they are using is that up until now, Congress has been favoring Muslims a bit too much. And there is an element of truth in that also. We should appreciate where the credit is due, because in comparison, if you compare Congress and BJP, Congress was slightly better. In what sense? First of all, they introduced a secular constitution. They did not declare India a Hindu state, though they could have done, just like we did in Pakistan. They didn't do it, but we didn't appreciate that. And for 30, 40 years, it went on, and that was the point that BJP started using. And ultimately, that's where we are. So now Muslims there are in a very difficult position, and if they come out, they fear that there will be more bloodshed, there will be more anti-Muslim riots, Muslims will be targeted in their houses and homes, as we have seen that there have been so many anti-Muslim riots in various places. And especially after Babri Mosque's verdict, again, you know, today's decision was that the Indian Supreme Court also did not entertain the review petition of Babri Mosque. They said whatever decision was given by the previous, though we have now they have new Chief Justice.
All right. So we have been joined in by a senior journalist from India, SP Singh Saab. Let's see what his point of view is, sir. Assalamu alaikum, SP Saab.
Walaikum salam.
Sardar Saab, can you hear me clearly, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. Walaikum salam to everyone there.
All good, sir. Thank you very much. Sardar Saab, since we are talking about this amendment bill, now all the three panelists which I have here, they believe that though this is an internal matter of India, but why Muslims are being targeted at each and every level? Primarily, it seems that the so-called secular state of India, whom we all really liked in one way or the other, Pakistan granted India the most favored nation status also, currently seems to be heading towards extreme right, creating the drift between the Hindus and the Muslims and the minorities out there. Do you believe it's a wise decision taken by the BJP government?
No, certainly not. Neither is Ram Rajya being constructed here, neither is a Riyasat-e-Madina coming up in Pakistan. The fact is that we are moving in the same direction in which a lot of people in a lot of countries are moving. I see a common shift towards the right happening from Britain to Trump's America to Pakistan, even under Imran Khan, and much more in India. In fact, I do concede that India is moving towards a poisonous road. It's a very poisonous bill that has been rammed through in Parliament, and that India is redefining itself. It's redefining itself almost as a natural home of Hindus. That is what it is saying essentially to India's Muslims, and that's such a sad thing to say. The only problem is that we wish we had better examples to quote from Pakistan, which we could, when we speak truth to power here in India, we had better examples. We are actually
when you said about Riyasat-e-Madina, Sardar Sahab, that is a socio-economic model the Prime Minister always talks about of Medina. Primarily,
Yes,
it's not religion
I do understand.
based, or primarily it's not a religious driven kind of a concept, you know. It is
I
a
I do understand, and I'm
socio-economic
sure if I
concept.
were a BJP, acolyte or a Modi Bhagat, I would have said, you know what, drama was about not religion, it was about a way of life, it was about a socio-economic model and all. Those things can be said on either side. The problem is that neither India nor Pakistan are setting the better standards. We at one stage had hoped that the world is moving towards progressive ideas. We are seeing a regression. In my country, it is sad that it is happening at a much higher speed. And it saddens me, I could always blame Pakistanis and say, what are you doing to your Ahmadis? What are you doing to your Qadianis? What are you doing to your Hazaras? Why are these things happening in Baloch? And a Pakistani can always hit back and say, how can India live with Kashmir being shut down for 140 days? It is shameful. Every single evening that the namaz is not said at the Jama Masjid, my heart cries out. This is not the India I wanted to live in. And this is not the Pakistan that you should have been living in. The only problem is we wanted you to be a better India kind of a Pakistan. In fact, we have become a far worse Pakistan kind of India. I am now living in Hindu Pakistan. You are now living in a Muslim India. That is the only problem. But my problem is that we are not joining, we are not acting as force multipliers for each other. We are in fact mirroring the worst in each other. That is what what should shame us. Let me say this: terror attacks happen in the West all the time. You don't see a backlash against Muslims in the West because the law takes its course. Terror attacks happen in India, and just as soon as the terror attack happens,
Sardar
one
Sahab,
or
just
the
a
other
second, sir.
Islamic sounding name
Whatever
is
has
popped up in
happened
the
to
air.
Pakistan, sir, because of India, because that is going to be a separate chapter altogether. I don't want to go there. We all know, we all feel the pain. You talk about doing all sorts of notorious activities from Karachi to KPK, including Balochistan, Islamabad, massacre of our children. I mean, we are not talking about that, sir, because I think the kind of damage India has done to Pakistan, that really needs weeks and weeks of live transmission to
We
talk
need
about.
to talk about that. We need to talk about the damage that comes from Pakistan side to India. We need to talk about the damage that the worst elements in India do to my Muslims there and the
Sir,
kind
this
of
is the
examples they set
perception
for
created
other
for the
countries.
public
It
by
is
the current
sad.
government. Everything that happens in
Sir,
India,
I am
straight
not.
away after 2 minutes, they
Sir,
start blaming Pakistan for that.
I
We
am
never do
not
that. But
into.
anyway, let's
Sir,
not get into the blame game, sir.
I am determined not to indulge in whataboutery. I am determined not to indulge in whataboutery, sir. That is not the kind of journalism I pursue. That is the kind of journalism actually that has gotten us to the place where we are now.
No, 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 no. I believe, sir, I'm one of those who have practically stopped going to programs of Indians, especially of Arnab Mukherjee, because at least I'm letting you talk. I'm letting you come up
You
with your
did the right
answer
thing.
over
You
there.
did
No,
the
no,
right
so I
thing.
gave you
Same
ample
here.
time to
Did
talk
too.
about. But anyway, sir, last 1 minute. Quick comment, Sardar Sahab. On the future, I would like you to also talk about on the future of Pakistan-India relationship under these given circumstances. With daggers are drawn. Look at what is happening in India,
Well, I
particularly.
wish I had something optimistic to say. I am a realist. I don't see much progress now. I think the progress would be if we can just stem the things here. I don't even see that happening. I only have hopes from better elements in both the countries to continue to put up stiff resistance to the forces of aggression, stand their grounds, speak up for human rights, take up the challenge, protect the non-Muslims in India, protect the Muslims in India, protect the non-Muslims in Pakistan. You repeal your blasphemy laws. We need to
We look
fight
after the
against
non-Muslims in
these laws
Pakistan, but
which seem to be
unfortunately in
determined.
India,
I see the
the
energy. I see
minorities
the
are not looked after.
actually directed at
Sardar
good place.
Sahab, Sardar Sahab, do you expect something good? In Urdu, we call it khair. I'm not sure whether it's an Arabic word or not.
Yeah.
Do you expect some khair? Punjabi da lafz hai, so meri gall hai, samajh gaye hoge. Asi khair mangde hain. Do you expect some khair from Amit Shah, Modi, or Ajit Doval, sir?
No, sir. Neither do I expect any from Fazlur Rahman or the kind. These are the same leaders we share. You can as well exchange some of mine with some of yours. Only care I hope is from the
Oh, sir,
central
sir,
message of Quran,
sir,
from the central message of Guru Granth
Maulana
Sahib, from
Sahib
the
is
central
not
message
even a
of Baba
part of the
Shakar
assembly
Farid.
anymore. This is what the Pakistanis have done.
Yeah,
They have
and he can
rejected the
bring
extremists.
and
Maulana,
he
your
can bring
Prime
crowds
Minister,
of
your
and he can bring
Interior
crowds
Minister,
of mullahs.
your
He can bring
National
crowds
Security
of
Advisor.
mullahs to central base to Islamabad, and he can bring your government to halt. That is the problem.
Chalo, Sardar Sahib.
Stop listening to those elements there, and we need to stop listening to these elements
Oh,
here.
we were
That
in
is the point.
Islamabad. We knew where they were. Nobody, nothing, I swear upon God, nothing was stopped. I'm a citizen who
You know
live
the
here.
kind of forces behind Fazlur Rahman. Let's not go there. You want to go there, again, just like you said, there's a whole new chapter to be discussed there.
But
We
anyway.
have our own Fazlur Rahmans. I don't deny that.
No, but Fazlur Rahman Saab has hardly few percent, hardly anything less than 2-3% seats, and maybe not even 1% total vote. You're talking about BJP in the Lok Sabha, in the Rajya Sabha. Look at the kind of support they've gotten. Anyway, sir, thank you very much, Sardar Saab. Moving on to
Faisal, sir, I do.
anyway.
I think thinking of India and Pakistan, the major difference is that Pakistan did declare itself as the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. But what India is doing today is under the banner of secularism. They haven't actually. They have been portraying themselves as the largest democracy, the largest democracy with secularism banners, and what they have done today is what you see. What happened in these last 2-3 months has been actually preceded by growing mob attacks on the Muslims. They've been terrorized, particularly in 2018.
Out of the 11 accused in that lynching of a Muslim, sir,
Yeah.
7 have been.
So what you see is
set
what you see is growing mob attacks, the lynching of people, so that they build up that tempo to come where they are today. So they were able to declare Babri Mosque as a Hindu temple. They were able to rescind the
Even eyeing at Taj Mahal.
yeah. So what they're doing is under the banner of secularism, which shows their cowardness, which shows their duplicity. What they profess and what they do is a totally different things. And see them accusing of those things. Today, when Mr. Fazlur Rahman, his party won 8 seats, but he himself lost a seat. So that is how the Pakistani
We have rejected.
Pakistani people, not Pakistani Muslims, Pakistani people voted. That's the pattern. And in the last 72 years, whenever elections were held, the right, extreme right parties hardly got any seats in Pakistan. So that and what you see today, India is overwhelmingly ruled by the extreme right parties. And that is what I call the transformation of the world's second most populous country. And that is what's more dangerous, because when these people perpetuate their rule in India for next 20 years, what you see their fallouts on the Bangladesh and
All the regional countries.
all the regional countries.
Primarily, yes.
So what you see is a great, and behind all this is the draconian act of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. That was
Kashmir.
No, not only in Kashmir. The act was actually passed in 1950 or 58 maybe. In the northeastern territories today, which are under the influence of these riots. So these special powers were given to the armed forces that they could kill people, they could torture people, they could ransack buildings. Actually,
And they cannot be put on a trial either.
and
That's the kind of support
that's
they
the
have.
sad thing. That's a sad thing, that there's no accountability.
There's no accountability.
The armed forces they get total immunity from prosecution. So what you see in the northeast and what you see in Kashmir, and today Ghulam Nabi Azad said that what I see in northeast is actually Kashmir. So their two ends are burning just because of one law, and that is the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. That
You can't suppress people. You can't stop these indigenous movements, sir.
Actually,
by the use of
this
force.
act was implemented in Kashmir only in 1990, but it has been there in Assam and Guwahati and other places
Much
since
before than
1958. So what you see is the India being not only ruled by mobs, but at its peripheries, India being ruled by its armed forces and suppressing the minorities through sheer force.
So last quick comment before we move on to Dr. Do you think this is going to give a lot of support to even smaller movements in this area, or maybe in the south, or maybe in Khalistan for that matter? It's already there in Kashmir.
Minorities today are terrified in India. What you have seen is the persecution of journalists, those who spoke against the government.
See what happened to
But
them?
what you saw was the persecution and harassment of the human rights activists in India. So what you're seeing
So
today
many
is
lawyers were beaten.
the lives were beaten. So what you see today is an India totally controlled by religious fanatics, and that is quite dangerous for the region.
How dangerous is it for the region, sir?
I think that
And
the,
do you actually agree with Avim Saab
it's
that,
very clearly, it has been pointed out that if you see that in the case of India, I think it's a one-party rule, which is very much, you can say, driven by the religious. Fanatics are at the top. And expecting anything which you say in a civilized world, which we call in a civilized, democratic, or this kind of thing, we have to understand what are their values. RSS, what is the background of Modi, and what happened even in this report. Because of this is the problem, that a one party when becomes so strong that even Supreme Court is not ready to listen against it. Even their commissions which was set to investigate on the Gujarati Muslims, you can say, tragedy, they have given a clean chit today, Prime Minister Modi. Even in the United States, which are, every newspaper is writing that what is happening in India. But the point is that when you talk about minorities, I think minorities are on the run in India because they are lesser in number, and overwhelming majority, which is the Hindu majority, which is now, if you have seen, Dev Singh was also saying that they wanted to declare India as Hindustan or Hindu India or Hindutva India. Now, it depends how much in India the same voices are which was talking about this secularism, but the number in the parliament voting, that is a very much revealing. Now, what will be the impact on the region? When you have this kind of a leader who is just like a fascist, or who is having this kind of the ideologically driven, who only looks his own ideology as a correct ideology, definitely it creates a problem within the state, and it will be having a lasting impact, or I can say lasting repercussions for the Indian polity or Indian society. How long this society bear this burden, one has to think differently. We can differ on it, but its impact would be also a spillover political impact in the neighborhood, which could be in our country, in the Bangladesh, in Afghanistan, and other, because the religious forces will exploit it. That if this is happening with the Muslim, why not here minorities can be having the similar kind of the fate? This is not good for the region. It's not good for the entire neighbor of India. But what is happening in India,
this
I
could lead
think,
to a lot of chaos.
yeah, it is a chaos. And if there's a chaos in your neighborhood, definitely we should be worried. And especially if your neighborhood is using your threat to bring a harmony, or enemy as a, you can say, mean to bring a harmony within the state or integrity among the community within the state, I think, or what you call it social, to create a social homogeneity, they are always using Pakistani name, Pakistani threat. I am a chowkidar. These kind of things. Definitely, we cannot expect anything good from the East.
Well, let's see, sir. Anyway, Doctor, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. And that's all we have for this hour. I'll see you again. Till then, take good care.